Well, if I was a wrestler, I'd have my own theme song.
I can introduce
So, okay.
you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Garrett.
Hi. Well, I want to introduce you because you're like probably the coolest person in the world, and we're doing a little experimental thing today, a little live painting session with Mr. Ryan Stewart. Goes
Hello, Garrett.
Ryan
Yes, sir.
Stewart.
Yes,
Art.
sir. S2art.art.
Just try and keep the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth, but not that close. You just like 6 inches or so.
All right.
That's good.
We're aliens where we're from. We don't know how to use these things.
Yeah, right. You know all about this stuff.
We speak telepathically.
Well, what are you working on right now?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but so far, it looks like a confused bunch of monkeys just spinning around. Uh, uh, um, yeah,
Kind of like a vortex looking thing.
it is the vortex.
Well, that's actually one of the things I love about the way you paint is you just keep layering and layering and layering on top of each other, and it kind of brings out the natural form of the brush strokes itself. So it's almost like you meld imagination with like whatever the painting was doing already.
Kinda. Uh, um,
Or how would you phrase it?
well, uh, uh, I try to just bring out what I see, sort of. Uh, um, Whether it's the texture or the light hitting it different or whatever. And then I keep just going over it and over it until I like it. And sometimes it ends up being something completely different than
Yeah.
what it is when I start it.
I've seen paintings that you start and I'm like, oh, I see what you're going, and then I see it 2 weeks later, and it's like you're like, this is the same painting.
Yeah, it looks nothing like it.
How do you choose the colors and stuff? Because I feel like, it's not that it's sporadic, but there's not really any sort of like specific palette you stick with. You kind of use everything.
Yeah, I well, I don't really know. Uh, uh, I'm kind of impatient, and so a lot of times I'll just grab whatever color I can and kind of just like rough out whatever is going on in my mind, and then uh, you know, going over it until I like it.
You almost just like keep balancing it as you go with
Yeah, and
based
then
on
like
whatever you grabbed.
I'll use a color and it won't like stand off of another color enough, so I'll end up like I use a lot of bright colors, and like it just helps me like show the different images better when they're hidden.
Do you pretty much only paint with acrylic, right?
Sorta.
Yeah.
Oil too, sometimes, but I'm not very patient. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Well, that's because acrylic dries really fast, but and
yeah.
you can keep going with it. But I feel like oil, you have to like set it perfect and then let it dry forever, because that shit takes like a week to dry.
Yeah. And it's just too much of a process. I'm very like, you know, sporadic and spontaneous, and
We
uh,
just paint nonstop too.
yeah.
Like every time I paint, I have to find a nice spot to set it overnight where nothing's gonna mess with it while it dries. But if you're just cranking out like 100 a day,
I well,
you need a warehouse.
yeah. I like to work on like four or five at a time, just because of that. You know. So I'm patient enough to let the color dry before I paint another layer over it. So it helps when I have two or three in front of me, because when I start painting, I'm just like a maniac.
Yeah,
You know, like I'll
you
paint
really are. It's like you're attacking the canvas.
something. Yeah, that's why I like painting them on the ground, because that way I can kind of hover over it and like get at it from all angles. You know.
Yeah, and see it from every lighting and kind of
Yes.
really get up into it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
what would you say? I mean, I really like your style. You're like my favorite painter for sure. I've watched you from the start, I feel like, and your style's been very consistent. Your skill has just like exploded as well, but
um.
how would you like describe the themes of your art?
Um. No filter, and absolutely almost they're like instinctual paintings. I don't really have much control over what comes out. It's kind of like, you know, uh, uh, um, unfolding before my own eyes.
Yeah.
I'll see something that'll just kind of like whatever mood I'm in, or something will just flash into mind, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that, well, there's like, it's like you're like the messenger. They're just
Sort
coming
of,
from within.
or like some kind of a vehicle, you know.
Well, no one can paint like you because it's like your mind on a canvas, I feel like. You can just
It,
like really get the way that you see the world out.
it is, and it's more like a diary,
Yeah.
because it's like a daily diary. Uh, um, if you look at like most of my paintings, they're directly reflective of like something I'm going through, like almost that day.
Yeah.
I don't really need. When I look at a bunch of my paintings, like I can remember the day that I painted it. Sort of. I don't really have to, maybe not the exact date,
Yeah.
but like, you know, I know when I painted it by what was going on in my life.
Yeah, and because I don't paint nearly as much. I used to paint a lot more, and those paintings I just remember from like 3 years ago. When I look at them, I can tell you exactly what I was thinking when I painted it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't always tell people because everybody sees what they see in something, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're really personal, like because they're, almost like a journal or diary. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's just like it is a way to keep track of. It's like a picture or something. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
That exact like feeling I had, which is hard to capture. I feel like over time you forget all the subtleties and stuff like that. But
Not all people are good with words.
yeah,
Some people, it's like, they're quiet for a reason, or whatever.
yeah,
They're not the best at speaking, whether it's they're nervous or the anxiety or whatever barriers there is. So a lot of people express themselves better through art, like almost
for
drawing
sure.
a picture or whatever.
When you actually tie words and like paintings together, I mean, I feel like some people use language in their paintings and it's kind of tacky, but you just incorporate it in such a way where it's just like the way you take apart words and then like almost change their meaning and like rearrange just the way that we see words themselves, because words are pretty consistent, but you start breaking them down and
I get into the whole like you know language and words are more powerful than people think, because
Yeah.
language and words are what rules us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like the whole I mean, it goes back to the Tower of Babel and all that,
Mm-hmm.
where people who could read and write were like, the terms were like witchy,
Mm-hmm. Well, like words we say, like spell words,
Yeah.
like when you spell a word. I'm gonna turn this on vibrate.
Okay. And a lot of the words are just kind of like my hands haven't caught up to the image or what I'm thinking about. So it's like it's kind of just like a note on the canvas of like, okay, what am I going to paint, or what am I thinking about next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and when you have them out there throughout the painting, they just blend in so well because words are like symbols,
Mhm.
and like you said, like Tower of Babel. If you trace back language, it's all about communication, and so it's like, what does this specific thing mean?
Right.
It could be a sound. It could be anything, and so we just started off with like such simple versions of language, and now it's so complicated. There's so many different ones, like Tower of Babel, like you said. And so we've come a long way, and you kind of pull back the language in a way where it's like re-simplifying it and making it where it is like a spell or something, like you're casting, like speaking into existence, because words are vibrations. So
If it's if people get it and that's what if they get the message of it, I think I have a little bit. My thing is sort of like the ability to get my point across and make whoever's looking at it kind of feel it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
it pulls you in.
Yeah.
You just like I find something new every time I look at something. It's just like, holy shit, and then it ties in even more.
Yeah.
Like
And I mean, I don't really realize, that, I mean, I guess, a lot of symbols come out kind of, when you feel love. It's like you think of a heart,
Yeah.
and that's what you paint. So there's a lot of like
Like almost subconsciously, you mean?
yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah.
just like things that like if you just kind of let yourself go, that you'll just naturally paint.
Yeah,
Um,
because creating art, I feel like the hardest part is that filter of like translating from our brains and our senses like into paint and words and all that. And so if you can minimize that filter, it's just like more pure emotion and idea, and
yeah.
people can connect with those more because I feel like they're more genuine.
I would agree with that. But also, some people do art for a living, and it's like although every piece might not be their Mona Lisa, there's like good commercial art. There's good, you know, it's hard. It's hard to make it and like find your niche in the art world, and if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there's so much different kinds of art. Like there can be like branding art,
right.
and like I hate advertising. I just think it's such a like mind warp of a thing. But there, I can respect the genius of the art of branding. Like
Mhm.
it's just a different kind of art, but it is really high level. Obviously, there's so much money in it, but
Yeah.
like all these different kinds of art, it's like that's why you can't really shit on other people for what they like, because there's
Right.
something for everybody. But I like art that is pretty far reaching. Like there's not too many people that either don't get it or don't like it.
Um, I think the biggest trick is keeping people's attention these days, or like getting their attention, even getting their attention.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's stuck on like a 3 second,
Mhm.
thing flashing up on a screen. But if you have something that's like, I try to make my paintings so you could look at it for a while.
Mhm.
You could really sit there and like it'll make you feel different on different days, kind of. And it's just like, oh, I
Mhm.
never noticed that. Or maybe it's like, you know, it's not really, the question isn't like, what's it about? What's he going on? What's he thinking about? It's like, how's it making you feel that day? Or like,
How's the lighting hitting it?
is
Or,
it still speaking to you?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's more like, they're not very decorative, and they're kind of, some of them are a bit much for people to look at.
I think they're
But
pretty. You mean not decorative as in like you'd hang it up above your couch in every home, or
well,
because I think they're pretty decorative as far as like the accents and the detail and
yeah,
like things like
I
that.
guess they're just kind of a lot. They're a little bit, it's like,
They're wild.
yeah, like if you're trying to like hang out with people, uh, um, in your living room or something, if this is hanging there for better or for worse, it's gonna end up like being a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like, oh, we're hanging out, we're having fun talking, but what the fuck's with that painting? You
Yeah,
know?
I actually had a really spooky painting. I was borrowing from you, and I had it hung up in my apartment. And I had 3 girl roommates, and they at like one point everybody in the house was like, "Can we like change that painting out? It's kind of scary." And I'm
I
like,
love
"It
it.
is a lot for a living room,
Which
maybe."
one was it?
It was the one where I had painted that painting, and
Oh
I gave
yeah,
it to you, and
the
you painted
two-headed,
like yeah. Well, it was the one head with
upside
like the
down.
hands on its sides,
Yeah,
and then you kind of turned it into this like
double-headed.
goblin looking wild thing.
Yeah,
And I loved it, and
I thought it was pretty scary too. I
it
didn't
was
want to
pretty
hang it in my
scary though. I
place.
will say, like I didn't, I just loved it. I didn't even think about how other people took it in. So that's like
Yeah,
a good point. Is like I like pretty much any kind of art, so I was appreciating it,
yeah.
and they're just like it's kind of intense for people like
It's
us.
kind of what I wasn't hanging in my place. That's for sure.
Yeah, they can be heavy, but you also have such playful paintings for having such a loose kind of format and like form and things, at least at first. And some of them it's like the ones with the puppies in them and things, like the colors and the brightness, like they have this attractive cuteness to them,
Hmm.
but they also have this like
Slightly
stark
demonic.
edginess to it. Yeah, like it's
Wow.
almost like a little warped, like a little like
Yeah,
manic or something.
that's kind of how the world is.
Yeah.
It's a strange place out there, but it's like, it is how it is. You might as well, you enjoy those aspects of it too. It's
Yeah.
part of life.
Do you
Uh,
think it's tough? Because you taught me like what outsider art means, and I mean I guess you can explain to people what it means, kind of. before I ask my question. But my question is, like, do you think that makes it more difficult, or it changes any way about like breaking into the art world or things like that? But first off, what is outsider art, I guess?
Outsider art is art that is made by people who are, outside of the art education or scene, the big money art.
Yeah, like traditional, like trained artists.
Yeah, it used to be referred to like mental patients and stuff as outsider artists, but
oh really?
yeah, but
like
today,
John Wayne Gacy and stuff.
No, like back way before that, but like now, just kind of like now an outsider artist is somebody kind of like me, who, whether they start doing it like late in life or whatever, just doesn't have the background or I don't barely know what fucking paint I'm using. I don't know secondary colors.
Sometimes you
and
probably
shit.
don't
It's
even
like,
look.
Yeah, I mean, maybe part of the reason why I use acrylic is like I can't really blend color. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have the discipline to make 14 different skin tones before I start a fucking painting. I don't know what it's gonna be.
And self-taught people, like, it's like teaching yourself guitar. It's probably a lot harder, but once you get there, you like created your style, learned what didn't work, learned what worked for you. And so it's almost like, some of the best guitarists ever are self-taught. And then there's really great traditional, like, taught guitarists, but the Stevie Ray Vaughns, the Jimi Hendrix of the world, like, those are the ones people always talk about, and they all taught themselves. So it's like, it almost has a specialness to it when you just have to fucking make it work.
I don't really have, that filter of I have a general feel of composition,
Yeah, for sure. You have an eye, and
I think the biggest thing I have is the ability to not really care if anybody is going to buy it or like it, or like, I'm doing them not to sell. I'm just doing them sort of as a journal, I guess. I'm doing them to get my point across, and I don't know. I'm doing it just because I kind of feel like I have to,
That makes it more pure and authentic, though. Like, I think that's the way it should be for most things, because otherwise you have like an idea of what you want to happen with it. It almost ruins the entire message of it, because you're like worried about other things, or you're like thinking about like, oh, will people like this, or will it sell? Right. And then you start to change your message, which is what makes an artist's art most important, I think, is because it's so unique to them. As long as it's authentic, I suppose. Yeah. Like, it's your view that is only going to be available to everything that's ever happened to you, making you who you are,
Right. It just, if it's kind of like a good band, there's only so many music notes, and it's anybody can play anybody's music, but it's really like how they're saying what they're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
And if they're getting through, and it's like, I feel like I can make, you can feel how I was feeling, or it'll make you feel the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know my paintings will make you feel something.
Yeah. And because I do it with my comedy, that's how I've always felt too, is like, that's why I'm not really trying to get anywhere with it. Like, everybody asks how it's going, and it's like, I mean, it's fine. I'm not like worried I'm not going to be successful in comedy. Like, I have a job, like, but because of that, I can write the jokes for what I want to say. Like, obviously it's about being funny, but anybody can be funny. Anybody can tell that joke, but nobody could tell this joke, because it's like a really niche thing that I've like see the world as, and you can pull people into that and make them think. And that's what I want to do comedy for. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to fucking have people listening to me like that. Like, I hate attention. I have anxiety. Right. Yeah. But I just really like have some things I think I could say. And so that's why I got into it originally.
Yeah. And then to say them in a great way. Like, when I play music, like, I don't want to sound like, Bad Religion. I don't want to sound like, Bad Brains. I don't want to sound like Iggy. I don't want to sound like, but it's kind of all like, it's kind of getting harder and harder to, at least for me,
create
that medium. Things. Like, I was always limited by my technical ability to play guitar, so I never really stood behind my own music, But, this is a whole different story, you know?
Yeah, because like you said, you don't ever want to be like people. And I've heard people refer like to see your style, and like some people have said like it has like John Michael Basquiat elements, but I think people only say things like that because it's like it's when things are so unique, it's like, well, I haven't really ever seen anything else like that except maybe this, you know. Whereas
Right.
like other people, they're like, oh yeah, they sound like Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stone, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I think that maybe
Every
just because he used words too or something like that, like, but I know that that's
every
like never
time
really had an
anybody
inspiration.
wants to, like, whether it's the quality, you know, obviously, he was one of the greatest painters ever in America, at least, arguably.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people would look at it and be like, "Oh, it's very like simple and like unpolished and childish and
Raw."
It's like, I could see that reference anytime my name's used in the same sentence. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, fine.
Yeah, and I don't mean to compare it to that or anything.
Yeah, it's
but
not compared at all. But like, if it gets somebody in that mind frame of like somebody like that, like, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
For sure.
They're not saying like, oh,
You're ripping him off.
It kind of reminds me of like, you know, the guy whoever's writing for Marvel right now, drawing for, who's obviously a way better fucking
You mean like
artist.
the 19 people?
Yeah, who's like they're getting shit on, paid $25 an hour, you know, like
what's gonna make people the least pissed?
and they're really good artists. Like
Yeah.
most painters, at least me, I would love to be able to paint like one square of like a Spider-Man comic book like that.
Yeah.
Great with the solid lines and like you could see what it is. And
Yeah.
it's like, it gets a point across, but also boring.
Yeah, dude.
You know
And
what I
that's
mean?
well, that's my thing, because like the Marvel movie's a good example. I don't like the new movies. I stopped watching them a long time ago, but they would spend like $1 billion on the movie, and it's like, well, I'm gonna go see it because even though it's just made to get money out of me, it's
Yes.
like a lot of really badass artists. They spend a bunch of money, and
Right.
so it's like it is cool. Still, I get like I'm not shitting on people for liking it, but I just feel like when you have it's almost like they just like implement mind control into these movies based on what they're trying to make.
On that. Yeah, I thought we were supposed to talk about the art.
Well, that's what
If
I'm
you
saying
get
though
me
is
going.
is like the message of the art. If the message of the art is to like piss the least people amount off, I think
Right.
you're approaching it in the wrong way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I still
But
think that the art is
people
cool.
make art for all different reasons. Like if I could make something to make a living off art to sell, that was like a product. You know, I think everyone
Mhm.
looks for. A lot of artists I know are cranking out certain pieces that are very consumable. Like you
Mhm.
can just buy them up, snatch them up. You know, but it doesn't mean that their artwork is more or less valuable than you know.
Mhm.
I mean, it all depends. Like, you know, there's some paintings that just because I really like them, you know, I want a lot for them.
Yeah.
And that's from somebody I care about. There's certain painting I don't care how much money you have if I don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
There's like some I just won't let go to certain people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple paintings where I you know, the right person in life, I might almost give it to them. There's other people that just would try to give me $10,000 for it, and I wouldn't want it.
I love that because I've always felt that way too. Like it's like and it's like you said, it's the difference between a product and like almost like scripture, you know?
Yeah.
Like you know, they don't sell the Bible really. I mean,
Right.
some people do, but it's if it's a product and that's fine. But I think my art that I like better is not a product really. Like, you know,
Well,
like when you're a kid, you like comic books, that's a product. I can like shit like that now that I'm an adult and still enjoy it and see value in it. But I'm just more interested in bringing people together and making people feel better or understand more things about life that maybe like, you know, we can all teach each other things. And so if you can paint in a way that nobody's ever seen before or they can really connect with, then I'm more interested in that than if it's being sold to people, like for the sake of sale.
But don't get me wrong, I do. You know, I once I chose to do this as a somewhat profession. Like I'm a pretty aggressive person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I do plan on, and I want to sell paintings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I I don't really. It's not really about the money. It's like I want to enable myself to be able to do this all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
everybody's got to eat. You know, everybody's
Right.
got to live.
And it's like there is a whole fine art world out there that like are really hard for people like you know, me or Brian Sperry or some to crack into just because of our whole like we don't want your money type
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah.
we do want your money, but we don't want your fucking money.
I mean, we need your money. We don't want it
Right.
though. You know.
You know what I mean? It's like I want you to be cool. I
Yeah.
want you to fucking. I want to be your friend, and then I want you to give me your fucking money.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? I don't want some dick. You know, like
Yeah.
Bill Gates. You don't get a fucking painting.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
It's not for you.
It's not for
know,
you.
It doesn't make
it's
you
like,
cool. You know.
It doesn't. You know, whatever.
Mhm.
I want them to be in the right environment with the right person. You know?
Yeah,
So
for
it's like,
sure.
it's hard for me to have so far a commercial item, or
Yeah.
you know, but I am cranking out really good art, for sure. That's
Constantly,
one
too.
thing my uneducated art ass knows is like
And they're all one of a kind too.
they're all one
so
of a
even if
kind.
they are products,
know,
it's like they're unique
yeah.
products.
I just recently got a bunch of prints and stickers made.
Yeah. Those
it's
turned out
like-
really good too. Actually,
I mean, some did.
there's a couple
Some-
on the couple
yeah,
on the walls
there's a
over
couple
here.
up here. Some did, some didn't. You know, I like the big stickers and.
This is one of my favorites, actually.
You know, that's one of Amy's favorites too. She named that one. That's Starvin' Marvin. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's the one. I sold it 3 times at my art show. I had somebody who bought it, and then I was offered more for it, and then the original guy who bought it really wanted it, so I was happy about that. That was cool. I did
Yeah.
I do an art show every July, and you know, the first time I had it, it was like, oh my god, I got to show everything, you know, and I pretty much did, and I felt like I didn't have enough pieces. But then the next couple years were like, well, I have enough pieces that I did this year to just show all new, you know, what I've been doing for the year.
Yeah.
And it's like the walls were absolutely full. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, actually, what I wanted to say too is with these stickers, talking about like products, I think that's a really good way, because with the paintings, like if they're your journals or your diaries, they're very personal. If you do end up being able to part with them, it's like you have to have something that makes it feel like it's worth it to part with, you know,
Yeah.
not just money and
Yes.
stuff. And so this is a way I feel like where you can kind of make them into products, but it's so much more affordable that it's not like,
and you can get a taste, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's like, unfortunately, just the way, especially at first, not being very well versed in this world, you know, you get prints from 4 or 5 different people, and it's like they're just not the right colors. The blacks aren't deep enough, or you don't like the material it's on, or you don't want it gloss, or you know. So, I mean, it kind of takes a lot. It takes a lot to like. I can see why people are finicky, and there are like I don't really care as much as a lot of people, and there's some stuff I don't notice, you know, but like I want it to not lose what it is.
yeah.
Like when I take pictures or post pictures of my art, I don't want to fix the contrast. I don't want to give it more of a red tone. I want to get an accurate picture, and I want it to look like I'm seeing it with my eyes, with this purple, this pink, this yellow. You know, I don't want the shadows. You know, I don't want any of that stuff done. That's me. That's my thing. You know, but
It's like when people take videos of a concert, it's like you're like, oh, I want to capture this moment, but then when you watch it, you're like, oh, it's not
You'll
really like
never
the
watch it
same,
again.
you know.
And nobody's gonna watch it sit there on your page and fucking watch what you didn't want to see in person through your fucking camera. Nobody wants to do it. I'm sorry. I mean, you want to do it. You know, you want to show your friend, but your friend isn't. You're gonna have to stand next to him at the next party and tell him, did you see the video that I posted when I was at that was up there like a month ago? You clicked like. They didn't watch it though. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, and they're like, yeah, it's great because
They
it's
don't-
just like doesn't record the
they don't
bass.
fucking
It just
care.
sounds
I
like
don't-
shit, and you're dancing around like an
right.
idiot.
And I mean, who checks anybody else's page other than their
Yeah,
own? you
yeah.
know?
There's people with professional cameras walking around. Just let them do it.
Please. I mean, fine.
Well,
you
because
know.
they pay them to like promote the shows and stuff, so they get
Right.
really cool videos. And
Right.
it's
Right.
like just show them that and be like, I was there. You can say
Yes.
that if you want to be cool.
Yes. Or some.
you
I
know.
mean, not completely like that, but sometimes
I think people have good intentions usually, but it's just like it's
I
like you
don't.
said, you're not, if you don't capture your picture right and you sell a print of it, it's like, well, I feel like this isn't the experience,
Right.
It's just not there. It's not all there. It's more ethereal.
Right.
It's like it's not even physical. It's on a, digital,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Cuz with the evolution of cameras too, now that they're all digital pretty much, I think that it changed the way that we look at pictures, and I don't really like it. Like I like old pictures with
Yeah.
like actual cameras and
And
stuff.
I mean, people still hang things on their wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. They care less because they're stuck on a screen, but there's all kinds of digital art, but there's like so far we're not like projecting holograms of fucking digital art onto
Yeah.
everybody's wall. It's still kind of like
2D thing.
yeah, like but wall space is getting it's you gotta a lot of times painting all these big pieces and stuff, you have to be considerate of people's wall space if somebody's going to collect your stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's my like I just paint on whatever.
Mm-hmm. You've painted on like cardboard boxes and stuff.
Man.
I've seen you paint on anything.
It's like I can
paint on your hand if you had to.
Yeah, I've done it. I mean, I'll just
Yeah.
like, depending on where I am, I might be camping somewhere and all I have is a pizza box, or I might be on a plane and all I have is a napkin, or some pen will explode in my pocket and I don't want the paint to go to waste. So
Yeah.
You
you need to get it out. Like you're just like it's like David Lynch has a quote where he's like, you need to write down your ideas, because if you forget an idea, you're going to want to kill yourself. Because it's like, as a creative, if you like tap into this, like, oh, that's like something, and then it flutters away, it's like, wow, I like could have had something that I thought was special.
Working on something else, your brain.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to keep your actions keep up with your brain.
Yeah. For sure. And that's like what I was saying earlier about removing the filter. It's like you can you're good. You can have a thought, and as you're doing it, it kind of flutters away, and it's like, oh fuck, like I didn't get that out fast enough. There's too many filters,
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to recapture a feeling,
Definitely.
It's also, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard to get your point across, but not really, sort of.
Did you have trouble with that because you've been painting like 5 years only, or so, or maybe 4?
2020. Yeah, like 4 years.
Yeah, like 4 years, which is crazy because I feel like people paint their whole lives before people actually really start liking it, and everybody I show this to is like. I've been, even if, like you said, it's a lot for them, they can kind of be like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
They don't. It's like when you tell somebody, I'll be like, oh yeah, Garrett does stand up, and then they're like, oh cool, like they think I actually am like somebody doing stand up, and it's like, oh no, I'm not doing anything really, But some people, it's like, oh yeah, no, he looks like an artist for sure. Like, was he in museums? It's like, yeah, pretty much.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's really good art. I feel like it's unique. I don't really see, a lot of art that makes me feel, like I want to know the artist.
Yeah.
Or by meeting the artist after, it's like you could look at a few of his paintings and feel like you do know him.
Mm-hmm.
Just like certain authors, like you can kind of tell who or how they are by how they write.
Yeah. It's like seeing into their mind, kind of.
Yeah, sort of. But other people, visual artists who do it for decorative reasons, just it happens to match their couch.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's fine because it's part of their overall artistic interior design.
Mm-hmm.
Not every painting has to feel like you're losing a pint of blood to sit there and look at and take over the conversation. That's a big problem. Is like with mine. Like I know like it or not, somebody in the room's either going to be like, either kind of like, what the fuck, you know, or just be weirded out by it in some way, or shocked, or maybe, God forbid, they get offended by it. You know? Sorry, I don't like everybody.
Yeah, because I know you don't seek to offend, because some people are like that, like they just want to piss people off. But that's part of being no filter, is like you can't be afraid of offending. Because
well, if you want to stand by the claim of my art being a direct reflection of me, I'm kind of a shithead, you know.
Yeah, I guess
I'm kind
so.
of a fucking antagonizer. I'm kind of a, you know,
A little demon, just
I mean,
poke.
no, not really. My intentions aren't bad, but like I like to push people to see what they're capable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, kind of gauge people based off their reactions, maybe.
do you mean it? You know, or do you like? Do you really mean it? Have you thought about this? You know?
Yeah, but you're right. It is like a pure energy. Like some people are just bullies or assholes, but like you're just kind of not a dick, but you just you antagonize. You know.
A little bit.
You're just a little bit of a poker.
You know, but it's all in.
But just to make people think, I feel like, you know.
Yes.
Like just to poke them a little, just to get them out of their comfort zone, you know.
A little bit.
Because that's when you are out of your comfort zone is when you grow the most. Because if you're comfortable, you
That's
chill
what I
out.
hear.
You're like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm good. But if you get uncomfortable, that's when you start having to make changes.
I'm still uncomfortable by this thing stuck in my tooth. It's driving me bananas.
What is it even?
It's pistachios.
Well, I don't have any toothpicks, but please don't use a toothbrush again.
That's okay. A paintbrush, you mean?
Or a paintbrush.
Yeah. I quit sugar yesterday. I told you.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of. Well. Hello. A couple of sugar-free Red Bulls today,
Yeah.
and that was. They still kind of taste like something's missing, you know, but not so bad.
Yeah, it's missing like something in the middle.
Like
It's empty in the middle.
It's like
But
it's
that
not having the mid fills on.
yeah, and that
you know.
cogginess of like the sugar is, I feel like, what makes it so bad for you.
Yeah.
What made you just have an epiphany? You're like, I'm done.
Done. Well, I'm like having this like weird, like nerve damage thing in my shoulder, and like my fingers on my right hand are numb. They still
Yeah.
are really bad today.
Really?
But like I can move it around, so it's like I know it's a nerve, but I think it's all because of inflammation, because of sugar.
Yeah.
The number one most deadly, addictive, and abused drug in the world that we can talk about is sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately had a panic attack last night. I was like, oh my God. I remember horror stories of Doc telling me, you know, you'll get your dick cut off, your fingers will fall off. And then Frank's foot was falling off, which Frank's no longer with us. I love Frank very much. But, you know, so I was like, oh my God, my hands are going to fall off. And I was like, oh, I can still use my left hand, but like, because I really like sugar. And I was like, fuck, I love sugar so much. And I wanted to like pound. I had 2 full Cokes in my hand. And I was like, sugar. And I dropped them both. And I was like, yes, I'm quitting sugar right now. Because if I eat more of it, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And, you know, the statistics will back that up, man. A lot of people are like, you know, there's sugar in everything. So if you, like you said, just try not to eat things where they add sugar.
Yeah.
Well, ice creams, does that count? You know, I fucking ice cream.
I would say yeah.
I can't eat it, you know, and it's like I still.
Oh, I have a sweet tooth. I'll pound like 2 pints of ice cream.
Yeah, but like pounding like orange juice is worse.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like everyone thinks it's good for them, but
Well, that's I
you
think
know.
we were raised like it's like, oh, I have a nice glass of orange juice, but
or have a bowl of cereal that's like.
Yeah, maybe it's because we were trying to sell us orange juice and cereal.
Yes, and just whatever. It's
well, like
horrible.
ketogenic diets is the science behind it is that when you stop eating carbs, your body turns fat into carbs,
Yes.
and so it just basically like uses the fuel of your body better. And those people, they just like they lose so much weight and not like in an unhealthy way, and
Right.
and their metabolism is really good. And I think that a lot of people.
Well, you said not to get pain everywhere.
Well, just not on this shit.
Okay.
But I probably wouldn't kill you. So.
That's okay.
But
You
I told
can.
you not
I know
to.
how you feel like you probably should sometimes just to make things a little easier.
Well, it's if you get it everywhere else, just don't get it on these microphones.
Okay.
Just joking.
Let's talk about the art.
Yeah,
Is that what we were talking about?
we were talking about sugar
Oh, yeah,
specifically,
sugar.
but I agree.
I like this, like,
now that I have to eat a lot healthier because like no gluten, I just tend to eat a lot more like veggies, fruits,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and nuts and all that. So I have actually like gotten a lot healthier, and it made me not want sugar as much. Like I'll get cravings because I used to
But
have a really bad
how
sweet
is
tooth.
it good for your mental state? You know,
I
it's
think it's
hard
good.
not being able to eat the same thing as everybody else, as all the other
That is
kids.
hard.
And
The
it's hard.
accessibility and shit, and
Yep, and
like
the excess of running to the store and the fresh food, and then more money,
yeah, and I
and
gotta
then having
cook so
the time,
much.
having to stop and reread the labels
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. It's like
Oh, it's a nightmare.
it's a pain in the ass, man. And it just
It's a nightmare.
if you're trying to avoid something like sugar or gluten, you know, it's I mean, there's very few options. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
should just stop
And
that.
everybody wants to like bully you just because they're like, I don't want to change. Why are you making me sound like I should change that too? You know, it's like
Well,
everybody's different, but
everybody's used to like, you know, year-round watermelon jello they can buy and or like whatever.
mm-hmm.
You know, all these foods that first of all, fruit used to be seasonal. It's not
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah,
But, you know,
that
you want the convenience of being able to get whatever fruit you want at any time of the year. But then again, it's like, oh, don't genetically modify the food. Whoa, what the fuck? You know, like, since when did mangoes start growing inside in Michigan? You know, just make them 50 cents a pound, whatever. It's like, what do you expect? You know, there's got to be a little bit of give, but
yeah, there's definitely a lot of like money in the machine behind the addiction of sugar, which is what sucks about it.
there's money in the machine against everything.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what the art's about. Too.
Exactly. That's why I think people like you are so important, is because if anybody can paint without a filter or do anything without a filter, it means they're being authentic.
Yeah.
And if like I trust, or you don't even have to trust, but like, you know, if you respect the person and they have no filter, then it's like you can really get something out of their art. And it's kind of like our way of fighting back against the machine, you know,
Yeah.
is the art.
Yep.
And that's why it's so important.
It's kind of like talking a lot, you know, like
Yeah.
cranking out a lot of art is like having a lot of conversations, you know. If somebody's not in the room and I want to go off about something or whatever, here you go. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. I think
Well,
I
and
need
you told me-
I think I need a minute.
Yeah, we can take a break.
Yeah.
We can take a break.
Let's take a little break.
Because or I was gonna ask you about the artists used to putting messages in their painting, but we'll take a real quick break. We can talk about that when we get back.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Well, Mr. Garrett.
Yeah. We just took a quick break. What I was gonna ask you though was you were the one who told me about how artists used to put secret messages in their paintings, because they were paid by like the royalty and everything to make paintings or something like that.
Well, this is you know, somebody told me that yes, like in the Soviet days and stuff, they would hire these people to make posters or propaganda posters, but a lot of times the artists would be like in favor of the you know, the rebellion or whatever, and like, you know, code their paintings by like, you know, a lot of the block, you know, Russian brutalist kind of art, they would like hide coordinates for attacks or stuff in it, and
That's
by like
crazy.
you know 7 rifles or whatever. So the government was always paranoid that people were doing that, hiding, you know, certain symbolic messages in their art. So kill the artists, you know what I mean? And I do a lot of times. I don't think anybody can paint without having some hidden connection to themselves. You know, whether it's, you know, some little message that only they get, or something that like somebody who really looks at it will get it. You know, the longer you look at them, I don't want to make them boring. I want you to look at them for a while. I want you to not get tired of them. I want you to, you know, have to figure them out. I want them to remind you of certain things, you know.
Almost like cracking the code.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't intentionally always like hide it in there, you know.
It's almost like subconscious though.
Yes, it is. It's like I almost want to tell you what I'm thinking or feeling, but like maybe I'm not quite getting it out right, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I tend to. There tends to be layers to meanings when somebody says something, so I like there to be layers of meaning in my art too.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't. It's not that I really like it to. It just does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I so far haven't harnessed really my artistic ability to where like I don't feel like I'm very versatile. I mean, I guess I am now. My mind works a little bit more like an artist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, like Sperry, of course, we've talked about Sperry a couple times. I mean,
Shout out Brian Sperry.
yeah, Brian
Warriors of
Sperry's-
the Apocalypse.
He is
Oh.
my favorite. Yeah, that's
yeah.
my yeah.
Yeah.
He is my favorite artist in the world, and his versatility, like, you know, you can commission him to do a kick-ass piece, and whether it's a sculpture or painting, it's like, you know what the quality of what you're gonna get is, and because he's versatile that way, he'll make something kick-ass.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know,
He's the man.
I can't really, paint, you know, bring me some of this clean product. It's like, no, I can't paint you a person. I can't paint your dog. I could try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, it's gonna turn out demonic, or like, you know, I'll get way off track.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't feel like I'm very versatile as a painter, but I'm also, I mean, I would like to work as like an artist full time, but like, what's that mean? You know, like,
especially nowadays.
yeah, I don't want to like, I guess getting paid by corporate and commercial art would be nice, but it's just not my machine.
Yeah, I feel like there's a balance. It's almost like the propaganda posters where it's like you can find a way to like get paid for some stuff, but make it at least cool enough that it's not just dull product.
And
brainwash.
it's like, who are you marketing to?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, those people and those companies are marketing down to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
for sure.
like they're using better things. They're using more expensive things. They're using, you know, more rare things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
Finer materials and
yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm definitely not using
better
finer
programs.
materials, but the you know, the exclusivity of like who owns my art and stuff is,
yeah,
you know, sort of a factor, and also because I'm not, you know, tainted by it like a bunch of art weirdos.
Yeah. You can't be
being in
tainted with
school
money
and
like that.
professors and
Yeah.
things like that. You know, people who like have some of them in a short amount of time become very jaded
Yeah.
when they realize like
Yeah.
what it, you know, how the real art market is, and when you get into the amount of where like people are just buying them as an investment,
Yeah.
not even caring.
I hate that.
you know, and it's like
because then they're kind
but
of keeping it from the people,
if
and
you
it's
wanna
for the
sell
people.
art,
You know?
who do you sell art to? Who buys
Yeah.
art?
Yeah.
People with a lot of money.
Yeah,
People with too much money.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of money. Like you can only buy like so many houses or cars, but then like when you have a lot of money, they buy boats, house, cars, art.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like
It's also like a way to funnel taxes and stuff like
Yeah.
that too.
and so it's you almost think like, oh well, they would buy anything. You know, the art's not that good for
Yeah.
stuff they're buying, but it's like, you know, at a certain point, like I said with like Basquiat and stuff, you're making such kick-ass art that, you know, before he died, it got to the point where any matchbook he signed or receipt or, you know, his belt, you know, like a coffee maker, whatever
Yeah.
it is, anything that he ever touched that somebody has is valuable now.
Yeah.
Because like he made art that he became art, so then everything he touched became art.
Yeah. He
Same
became
thing
it.
with Warhol, you know.
He became like so true that he just was the art.
Yeah.
Well, and what you were saying earlier about being jaded, like with teachers and professors telling you what to do. One of the first times I did stand up, I was visiting my buddy in Houston, and we went to this mic, and they were doing this like workshop where new people would tell jokes, and then they would tell them like, oh yeah, no, it'll work better if you say it like this.
Yeah.
But not in a way to like help them with their message.
Yeah.
In a way to like totally change the message to what they think is funny. And I was like, that's
Right.
so stupid. Like, it's like now you're telling this person to just please people.
I have
and,
a couple,
you know,
of, you know, friends who were also like, basically, do you like my new painting? Oh, it's great, but you know what you should do is.
I hate that.
I don't mind it. Now listen,
that.
here's why. Here's why. Because I don't want to know what I should do with it. I want to know why I should do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
It's like,
sure.
why? Well, because I would do it. It's like, well, that would be your piece of art.
Because then I would like it better,
You know? And it's like, okay, well, I didn't think of that. That's a great idea, but I think it's a
now you're just like relaying something else, and
Yeah.
it's not
yeah.
like the whole point of it, which is like me, like showing my
Right.
view, or not specific to that, but yeah.
And the reason I might do that if that's what I intended on doing with that when I did it, created it,
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't know what my intentions are with them now. I intend.
And it almost muddies it up, because like when I go to popular shows, if somebody tells, they're professionals, if they tell a joke about something that I'm kind of like working on a similar joke, it's almost like now I can't even really work on that joke, because it's like now I've been tainted by
Sorta.
their, like, I could have maybe developed it a different way.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen that, it's almost like muddles the mixture of like the authenticity of it just coming out of me.
Sort of. Yeah. Like
That's why I don't go to stand up as much anymore, because it's just like,
yeah.
I just rather work on what I'm working on and
But
not be influenced
If
too
I
much.
wanted to, enter a certain kind of market, maybe that would be maybe a good idea, for whatever.
Mhm.
Oh, that's a really nice piece of art, but you know what I would do
Mhm.
is I would make that into a shirt. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Fine. Maybe I should,
Yeah.
but like, it isn't originally why I created it. And it depends on how bad I want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that, I don't give a shit enough to actually succeed. Like, the amount of level that I really am like, it's not that I'm not trying, but because I am, but I don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm definitely I'm expressing myself. I'm happy with
Yeah.
that amount of, progress, and I'm happy with how productive I am and how easy it is. It's not a discipline thing. It's like I habitually do it now,
Mhm.
compulsively.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like building a routine, but some things, if you find, like you always told me, you've done a lot of different artistic things in your life, but once you discovered painting, it was just like you couldn't stop. And I think some people try to, like, they want to be good at something and they like it, but maybe it just doesn't click and they're not as interested to like push as hard or whatever. So it's kind of all about finding your purpose in like what you just can't help but do,
yes.
like it's just
I
what you
noticed
feel you need to do.
Immediately, that I was kind of not that great of an artist, but like I said, I was good at getting my point across.
You mean like technically
like,
speaking?
Yeah, and like anybody that looks at my paintings, like, I love criticism. I love it. I want somebody that's educated and whatever. Please give me some pointer, or tell me it sucks, or you hate it. Why?
Yeah, because I don't care if people don't like my stuff. Like,
But
obviously it's nice if they do, but yeah, I don't
a
care
lot of people
either.
that don't like my piece, it's like they don't like how it makes them feel.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's effective.
It goes back to like comfort zone.
I don't want I want certain people to not feel right.
Yeah.
By looking at
Yeah,
them.
Patrice.
I want like baby eaters to like realize that like I know what a fucking baby eater is.
Yeah.
And fuck off. I don't want you to buy my art. And I want like wicked. I mean, even though the paintings are kind of demonic and stuff, it's like they're sort of my way of fighting evil.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely my demons within.
Mm-hmm.
I can paint them out, kind of trap them, and make them work for me.
Yeah,
Pimp them out, put them on some stickers.
It's almost like capturing a demon in a mirror,
sort of.
like you're pulling them in, like and
the
making them
Ghostbuster
stare at
box,
themselves.
You know what I mean? Like you can
Yeah.
tell certain traumatizing events or whatever, or like unpleasant thoughts, or in a lot of cases, a lot of pleasant victories. And they're just kind of trapped here. I can get it out. I can move next.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can move on. I can like, you know, tomorrow I'll paint about tomorrow. The next day I'll paint about the next day. You know, this I started a couple days ago, but it's relative. You know. Um,
Yeah, did you start that here?
I did.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I've seen it
Yeah.
transform over the past couple days,
Yeah.
and it's just
It was a canvas I got from Goodwill, and let me adjust my phone book I'm sitting on, and it's kind of just the same. You know, I started it the same way I always sort of start everything. Like, I don't really fucking know what it's gonna be. I know I just got a $5 canvas at Goodwill, and I just kind of, you know,
just
and
keep
then,
going.
oh, that looks like a blah blah blah, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, and then it, yeah, and then by the time I like lose half of what I originally saw, and you know, my sense of foreground and background, I wish it was a little better, technique wise, you know, but I'm still like, um, I'm merely the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't feel like I know something's gonna come out, something cool, because I won't stop until it feels right, which I sort of have a natural feel for composition just with the whole like the eye movement, and you know, I want every bit of it to be kind of like look good and go together and feel like it, you know, have some kind of cohesion.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I notice a lot of eyeballs in a lot of your art.
yeah.
Like a lot. Do you have any reasoning why you think those come out more, or tend to be like a theme in your art? There's a lot of like almost paranoia, or like
Yeah.
things
Well,
like that, or just skepticism maybe, or
probably both. You know, I think it's like it's part of our survival instinct to like see faces. You know, like when you
mm-hmm.
look off in the distance in the woods or something, you see eyes, you'll recognize it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? That's what your eyes are scanning for. You see any two things that kind of pair up to a pair of eyes. Is it a threat?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the way I paint, just by kind of, you know, marking the canvas and seeing, finding symmetry in eyes, you know, it's just natural for me to bring those out, you know. I think that's part of the not having a filter. It's like, oh, I don't want to paint a person, but these are eyes, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those come out a lot, and I notice most of my paintings tend to have eyes, teeth.
Yeah.
You know,
Teeth
those
is
are the,
another one
those
too.
are the
Yeah.
two things. It's like it has big teeth, and they're growling at me, and it's got big eyes, you know, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it's maybe because of the primal like place that the art comes from, you know.
Yeah,
And
there's definitely like a chaotic energy to a lot of your stuff, but
chaos, me,
yeah, there's
I don't even know what that is.
I feel like there's a lot of like stretching and pulling and reaching and chasing, and
Yeah.
it all kind of comes together with a harmony by the time you're done, and it's probably because like you said, you just keep going until
Yeah.
it just
Until
feels
I get
done.
my point across.
I'm always worried when I start a painting and it turns out to look somewhat cool. I go, I don't think I can keep going. I'm gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
I
mean,
just can't get over that a lot of the time.
sometimes I do ruin them. To some people, I do. Like, oh, you should have stopped it, or maybe you shouldn't have had that on there, or that word. It's like, but I'm coming from the art therapy aspect of it. It's like a sketch. Everything comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in creative writing, a lot of times I had a class where you'd sit there for the first 10 minutes and just wrote every single word that came out. You know.
Like
And
pops in your head basically.
yeah, and it didn't always make sense, but like you just scribbled it down, and that's how my paintings are. Only I try to like, especially now that I'm seeing all this really good art around me, and I'm, you know, running with all these really good artists, um, who have been doing it their whole life, and what's working for some of them, what isn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think, you know, art's increasingly becoming more valuable as a everyday thing instead of just rich people being able to buy art. You know, I know artists that are like able to sustain, they're able to make enough to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the mentality is shifting around people like, oh, well, you painted a picture, you could just paint another one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, there's an artist that I should just get that for free because they're my friend. And it's like, well, don't you want your friend to make art? Don't you want to support them as like an entity?
It's really special to them too. So like, it's
Yeah,
not that they
whether it
want
is or
money
not.
for it or anything, but it's, you know,
Yeah.
it almost has to have like a deeper purpose for somebody for it to feel right to give it to them, you know?
Well, if your friend's making kick-ass shoes, don't you want to buy a pair of shoes from them?
Yeah.
If your friend is a mechanic and you need your car fixed, you're on the phone with them in 5 seconds. Hey man,
Yeah.
you're the best mechanic. Come fix my car.
Yeah.
Well, if you need, you know, something to uplift you or something special or whatever, a gift for somebody else, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe this would be cool for my friend. You go out and you'd rather buy something from Hallmark or something, some shitty thing for Christmas. Why don't you go to one of your friends that's, you know, that is going to go spend all their money on paint and canvas anyways? And why don't you enable that by supporting your fucking friends and buying their fucking art and selling their art for them?
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing, is like, people are so stuck on like selling their own art, when obviously a lot of artists are afraid to talk about like a price, or they get all weird and they get all clammy, or like, you know, defeat their own sale, or diminish their own worth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, if you like what you're doing, you want to be an artist, be like, I want to be a fucking artist. Here's my stuff. Yes, it's for sale. I'll talk money with you all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you want to? Don't sell yourself short. It's like, you know, some people want to help,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to sell art for big money, you have to be like confident enough to go around those markets and be like, I want big money for it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it might not be the quality of paint you're using, or the fucking greatness of whatever,
Or how long you went to school.
You know, there's
something.
there's paintings I saw certain people like, oh, it just means so much. It's like, it's the only one, you know, it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like happenstance art. I don't like splash or pour art. Not to say that's not
Right. It's just a
smart
different kind,
economically. It's like great pop art. It just looks great.
it's dull to me because it's just flashy. It's just like, oh, interesting, like design, like, you know,
Doesn't
I
make
feel
me
like it's
feel in a certain
harder.
way.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
like surfacey. Like, oh, it looks good. Fine.
Yeah.
Of course you can afford a big fucking painting that has colors on it that match your living room.
yeah,
Great.
for sure.
Like I said, that goes back to the interior design part. But like me, if I had big money and I wanted to buy art, I wanted to buy something that like other people can't get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or something that's like
Or
absolutely hits home.
even I would argue with the purpose, because, you know, not that a splatter art or pour art can't have purpose, but it's just a lot more intensive design over time, whereas those are just like in a moment, it's something,
Right.
and you're maybe like, well, you know, what is it, or what do I see, what could I add? Whereas this is just every single stroke and every single color you
Could be
pick,
something
and
in like,
you know, it's way more variables, so it's, I feel like more intensive, and as far as like
it's
depth
definitely got
and-
character.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
character, yeah, for sure.
A lot of art, who knows what the artist is like by looking at their art. You
Mhm.
know, I think mine are a pretty accurate depiction of who I am. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, almost to the point where like it's more honest than what I would tell you about myself.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
You know what I mean? And it sort of, it gets hard to hide secrets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, and
Because-
that, what we were saying earlier, when you don't always tell people like why you drew something the way you do, because sometimes it's really personal, and it's like, ooh, like I could explain to you why I did that, but then you know like too much about me or something, or too much about somebody else, or, you know.
I prefer to tell the story this way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's my way of saying it.
Like
you know?
movies and songs, people are always, all the critics, they're always like, what's the exact message, you know, trying to crack the code. And it's part of the fun, but it's also like part of what makes it special is that it's not really defined. It's kind of only defined to the person, and they're trying to relay it to you.
I think the code to crack here is the feeling it gets you, not the meaning of like, why do I have this number of X's in it or crosses in it, or why did I break that word down? What's that supposed to mean? It's not so much that as it's about you know,
how it makes you feel.
yeah, and the overall, like, oh, this thing's kind of funny, you know. You might be amused by it. Other days you might just be like, it's fucking obnoxious, it's annoying, like, fuck off, get out of my face, you know. And other times it's just like, that's really cute, you know, or
Yeah.
you know, it makes you feel like, oh man, this, you know, maybe I can relate, dude's little bananas or whatever it is, but most of my art is guaranteed to make you feel a bunch of different ways.
It has presence, you
Yeah.
know. Like
Oh yeah.
you've manifested presence by like literally painting it, you know.
Yes. It usually
You've taken like emotion which isn't really tangible and kind of given it a like
yeah.
a sensory digestion. Or
Yeah.
digestion.
And then I compared a lot of times to like the whole, you know, technically trained guitar players, Steve Vai or something, shredding away on a guitar solo, you know, with whatever. I mean, he's got style and everything. Maybe not Steve Vai, but you know. And then you have is that
Sorry, I was just resetting
okay?
the camera.
And then you have the guitar player like Kurt Cobain, you know, who was a really shitty guitar player, technically, and you know, but he connected with millions of people, and his simplicity of his message was like he made you feel a certain way.
Why do you mean he
he
was shitty?
playing.
Just like not technically
You know, like,
skilled or whatever?
Yeah, like you'll sit there and you get your shred monsters who are like,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, they're really fucking good, but like,
Right.
you know, they're going like this.
Yeah.
It's like nobody. Boring.
It's like the style versus substance, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think if you have a lot of substance, like a big budget for a movie, it's a lot easier to like get it somewhere. But I
Right.
feel like style, you can get it way further with a lot less fuel or a lot less money or a lot less like
Yeah.
means, you know, like quality of materials.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the genius of art. Like
Yeah.
that's like what you mean with Kurt probably. Like
Yeah. And you know, also the self satisfaction of like I really like my art. You know what I mean? And so like if I feel like I'm getting my point across and I like it, you know, to me, it's good.
yeah, like not arrogantly like, oh, I love my shit, like, and everybody else should,
Yeah.
but it's like I
I'm not
don't
trying-
care if other people do.
I
I
don't-
love
I
it.
really
like,
don't. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm not trying to sell anybody on it. I'm not trying to push my art. Like
Mhm.
yeah, I did like
I don't want to make people like me. You know?
right. I did a couple art fairs, you know, this past summer, and it was like I went there all nervous because I'd never done one, and oh my, what should I sell this for? And like you know, I ended up deciding that I'm just gonna go there and paint. You know, if people want to talk to me about it, they want to buy some, fine. You know, and that's you know, I paint live a couple nights a week, and when I do, it's like people. You know, they're gonna come up to you and like ask you about it, and like it's kind of cool. It's like I don't mind people like they're always afraid they're interrupting me while I'm painting. It's like I'm painting in public, please.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. Like if I wanted to be left alone, I wouldn't be doing it here.
Well, dude, I love watching you paint because it's like I realized the other day, it's like watching you paint is like almost the art. Like you know, you kind of see
Sort of.
you just like you don't really know what you're thinking, you
Yeah.
know, but you're just going at it, you're moving around it, and it's like seeing the process. But yeah, it's really fun to watch you paint. That probably
yeah.
sounds silly, but
No, I have a lot of fun painting. I'm also watching myself paint.
and you're fearless when you paint
know.
too, and there's something to be respected about that too. You know, you don't like around, like you just fucking
A little too fearless. Well, and a lot of times I ruin it. But I don't ruin it because they turn out how you know.
you just keep going, like you said.
Yeah, I just keep going until I usually know when they're done. I don't. That a lot of artists are like, oh, well, you know, the big question: when do you know it's done? Oh, well, I don't really ever. They're not really done until you give them away
Yeah.
or sell them. You know. They're
Yeah.
like, you know, I take archive photos of it, but even like some of the prints I made, the photos are different than the finished product because, you know, I couldn't see the words good enough, or
Yeah.
you know, so something changed. But like, you know, I don't have a bunch of stacks of unfinished art. Like I like all my paintings. I like
Yeah.
it, and then it's done. You know.
When posters like dilute it too because it's 2D, and then you're like taking a 2D photo of it, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like this is still kind of 2D, but it's in 3D space.
Well,
at
you can
least.
see, you know, you can tell it's an original piece. You know, people that I want to sell as many original pieces as I can. you know. Prints are cool and everything, but like they do lose that personal, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't know the person that you get a print from. It's like if it's not signed or something, it's like who's to say that artist is great or whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, do you find it, because I know you say like it's you like when you can find somebody that you want to give a painting to, but it's also tough because it's like I like all these so much, you know. And if I give it to somebody, it's got to really mean something, because it's like, damn,
Right.
like I'm maybe I'll never see that again or something, you know.
I feel that way a lot of times. A lot of paintings I sold that I really miss.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, you know, I haven't sold a painting to somebody I don't like yet. And I
Yeah.
don't think I ever will.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of, yeah, I hate to be that way, but so far, I get to choose who I sell my art to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I want some kind of a level of success to where my stuff's just on a shelf, um, that'd be cool. But to me, that's creating a product, you know, and like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I would be interested in creating my name as you know, selling matchbooks with my name on it, or a matchbook
Yeah.
that I signed, or I don't, you know, again, I don't, I'm not trying to achieve any certain level of success, but I am aggressive, and I'm not afraid, and I've decided that I'm going to be making art.
Yeah.
So naturally, my brain goes to like, you know, how do you make money in art?
Mm-hmm.
And that's also like determining your worth.
But I think if you have good intentions also, it's like a lot better than if you're just going about it like, what's
Right.
the most money possible I can
Right,
make,
right.
or something
Or
like that.
can I figure out how to make a shitty product that everybody will
Yeah,
give me?
yeah.
You know, it's like I don't
I
want to
oh,
lower
I
my
hate
standard.
that. I hate that when
Yeah.
people are like, "Well, if it's so easy to just be on TikTok, why don't you do it?" It's like, because I think it's like poisoning the world. All that
Yeah.
4-second little,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to just make a product to get rich. Like, I'm not making
Right.
art to
Right.
make money, but obviously you have to have a house or food or whatever, and so then you have to work or make money somehow, and then that kind of takes away from your
Yeah.
time to devote to just being true to your
mean,
art. And
I'm willing to put in the work.
yeah.
You know, because I'm doing it anyways. So like, it's not like there's gonna be a shortage of. I don't really need to. I'm always inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always inspired to paint. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there isn't periods of time that go where I haven't painted in 2 weeks. I haven't painted since I've started. It's like I pretty much paint every day.
Mm-hmm.
If I haven't painted for 1 or 2 days, I'm really feeling it like I'm stuck somewhere without a brush or something.
Yeah.
You know, which that hasn't really happened since I started. I paint everywhere I go. I manage.
Yeah,
to,
whenever you visit, it's just like art just explodes all over the house.
I show up with
Paintings
an empty
everywhere.
car, and then by the time
You're
I'm
always
leaving, I'm
painting,
like, I
yeah.
got like 6 new ones, and I'm leaving one, and I got 2 that I got to finish when I get home.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes I'm like, hey, you want to like stop painting so we can do something?
you know, it's like I'm doing stuff.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's what I
I'm
would never
making-
take away from that.
I'm
It's
making
too
history.
special.
Yeah,
It's way too special to
it
take away from
sure
it.
is. And it only gets better.
I'm your biggest fan,
the more-
honestly.
The more truth and honesty that comes out,
Mm-hmm.
which when we can be honest, that's when the real truth comes out. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I
So-
totally agree. I think it's the most important part about art. Like, I think it's the first step is, are you being as honest as possible?
With yourself.
Yeah,
and
because that's
authentic to
hard.
yourself,
It's not
yeah.
always easy.
It's easy to
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you about is like art therapy. I think that's kind of what that has to
Yeah.
do with is like some people you say try painting and they're like, I don't know what to do, you know.
well,
And it's like that's kind of like part of it is just like not being afraid of you
Right.
know where to go with it, as long as you're just being as true as possible.
it's kind of like eating with purpose. Not a lot of people eat with purpose. They just, oh, McDonald's right there. I'm on empty. I need to get on full, and they don't like the quality of what they cram in them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever. Well, that could be compared to anything like art, you know, nutrition, what you do with your time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like I'm maximizing my value of time by painting because it's you know, letting people know how I am, where I'm at, and giving them something that I could share. You know what I mean? I'm constantly creating something it's like I'm leaving a trail
Mhm.
of my interpretation of things, which, like it or not, it's going to be there, you know. And the art therapy thing. So that's, I think, my next big like thing that I'm going to do with my art.
So like, what is art therapy?
So
How would you describe it?
art therapy, it's been around for, you know, they're taking it very serious now, but you know, it's just a way to help steer people that might have certain, you know, psychological issues, and have them express themselves in a different way. Like I said, if deaf people read Braille, and it's just different form of communications. A lot of autistic people are very good with language, or their words, vocabulary. So I have, little kids, like, what happened? Paint me a picture. It's just a better way of getting out words for somebody who's really quiet or
that's
whatever.
a good way to look at it, because when you're a kid, you have that innocence and fearlessness to just like blah, whatever.
Right.
And I think that's why kid like drawings always look so special.
Yeah.
Is because like they're just so honest. Like,
and like art therapy, you're not there to like have somebody paint a Van Gogh.
Yeah.
You're not there to criticize their work at all. You're there to give them an environment
to feel safe.
And to feel like, get that out. It's like a mental massage kind of. And a lot of times it's like pictures are horrifying, or the art is really good. And it's just a process of watching the person, their physical mannerisms, how they do it. And I mean, I want to do a couple different areas of it. Like I want to do like a private, patient kind of privacy thing, private clients. And then I want to do, some with people, have them sign a waiver and do like a podcast with it.
Yeah.
'Cause I know some wild and crazy fucking people that have some wild and crazy stories, including myself, the whole reason why I started painting,
Dude, you could totally have like a art therapy podcast.
Dude,
that would be sick.
I got plenty of interesting cats that would, be in it.
When you're the reason why I started painting, because I never painted, because I was always like, I don't know what to do. And you just were like, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Don't think as much. And I just painted with you a couple times and watched you, and was just like, taught me to just not be so fucking afraid of what it'll turn out or it'll ruin or whatever. And I don't paint that much nearly, and I'm not very good, but I like my shit. But I like it because I think a lot of them are pretty authentic. Like I was just letting out whatever was in my head.
Well, they are most, if you're trying to do your own art, it's going to be authentic. If you're trying to do somebody that something else did, whatever, maybe you're testing yourself, your patience or your technical skill level. But like, I tend to like art that pushes originality, and like, I don't want something that's crafted 6,000 times and replicated.
Yeah, I don't want something that's too clever. Like, especially with comedy, people, they'll tighten up their jokes so much that it almost loses the soul of the joke.
It's not to say that there isn't a place for it, but it's like,
for sure,
it's vanilla.
Yeah,
it's turning your comedy into vanilla, or not saying whatever retard joke or whatever joke might offend people. It's like, it's kind of funny to offend people, because those people don't give a shit if they piss you off sometimes.
And Patrice O'Neill was one of my favorite comedians, and he always said, like, I'm not trying to make everybody laugh. I'm trying to make half of them laugh, and the other half I want to kind of be disgusted, because he's like, not to piss them off, but if
really
you're
funny to the other half.
Yeah, if you're doing if you're doing that, then you're doing something, because it's like the balance, like half the people relate to it and think it's hilarious, and the other half are like uncomfortable with it, and then it makes them think.
Like,
so
half of my art is picking on a certain characteristic of people, or like,
which I think a lot of greed, like a lot of selfishness, I think your paintings do a really good job of turning, like bringing out the monsters in the world, like showing the monsters of the world that are hiding. Yeah, like, for sure.
It might not be, it's easier to be less afraid of them if they're kind of silly. You know what I mean? So it's just a way of like, oh, the big bad monster's not so scary or not so tough.
Yeah, it is like making them silly.
Yeah, it doesn't. We're not all afraid of this stuff, or you can figure out a way to not be so afraid.
Yeah, like there's this scene in Harry Potter where there's this creature that whenever you see it, it turns into your like worst fear. Yeah. And there's a scene where they like take turns and it comes out all scary and they ridiculous or something, and it turns into something silly, and then it like makes them less afraid of it.
Yes.
And
similar.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Is like you just like kind of characterize the monsters in a way that mocks them.
Yep.
In a way that like everybody else can, not be as afraid of them. Like,
yes,
they see them for what they are more.
Or in a way, to put them at rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To make light of it.
For sure.
And to not like take myself so serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's like, important too.
take your fear so serious, and don't, it's not really as bad as we always make it out to be. And there is like kind of a bright side to everything.
Yeah, and that's I think why, because you're certified in art therapy now, and
I am
that
now.
was I thought that was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
and I was also gonna ask you because in Chicago it's such an artistic city, and I feel like it has so much different kinds of art. Like almost, it's like the food. It has every kind of food and every kind in good way, every kind in a bad way.
Maybe it's because of me, because like I just entered this whole like crowd or area of life that I was never part of in the whole art thing. But like to me, I feel like there's like a certain buzz around Chicago right now in the art there that like New York has had for decades, and like Paris had, and like I think Miami, I think Chicago's it's always had art, it's always had music. It's a huge city, but like I think it's really got like something unique and popping about it right now. And
Yeah, like I feel like you're talking about like of the 70s, 80s, 90s, like 60s,
Yeah.
70s, 80s, 90s maybe,
It's just
of like New York and all those places.
I think, at least my experience right now, Chicago's a very, very polarized city right now. I think it's very volatile, and I think it's like it's got some big problems that people are kind of getting tired of, and certain approaches just aren't working anymore. And I think it's becoming, you know, it's changing, ever changing, but it's becoming a more ideologically segregated city. You know,
I think a lot of that had to do with COVID too, because
Well,
that really split
yeah.
people up.
I mean, yeah, obviously, but like, yeah, I mean, I think since then people are having a hard time commuting with each other.
Hold on, I'm
Anyways.
gonna shut the door.
Is that my cute puppy?
Could you just not come in so much?
Is that my cute puppy?
Yeah.
Okay. Come here, cute puppy.
Pop, pop. What were you saying? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Puppy.
That's like the first ever print you did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite paintings ever.
I think it is my favorite painting by you.
It's
Actually.
really, really, really cute, and it's really like it says a lot about like the tone or the mood that I portray in my paintings. You know, I get my point across, sort of, and it's very cute. It's very sad. It's very hopeful. It's very, it just says a lot.
Yeah, and the it's simple color palette, but it just has so much texture to it.
Oh wait,
and so much space. I feel like
it's supposed to go like this.
There you go.
It's supposed to be head over.
What was he? The oh boy?
That's oh boy. That's this character I'm doing who, like there's a reason why The Simpsons and like South Park can have the subject matter that they have. If you had a bunch of people acting and saying some of the shit that they say and some of the topics, it wouldn't work. So they make cartoon characters say the shit that they're thinking.
Yeah.
And like my oh boy's like, oh boy, anything that I think like somebody's gonna be like, what the fuck, like, or get offended by, or maybe hopefully a lot of mine will chase off certain people, like goddamn baby eaters, or like, whatever, the man, authoritarian figures. And so when it's something that might like poke the bear a little bit, it's like, oh boy.
It's almost like making it cute, like
Yeah.
like what we were talking about earlier, like poking people just like in a cute way, like oh boy, like
Oh boy. Like that was almost like a
there he is again.
Yeah, like a sorry if priest that's touching kids gets offended, oh boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, cool. I mean, I guess they would be the monsters though, so
Yeah.
it's a good thing they're offended.
Right. Right. Or it upsets somebody who makes their living extorting money from innocent people that are going 2 miles an hour above the speed limit, or things like that. It's like I don't really hate cops that drag people out of cars, or that go get somebody who just shot up a whole family or something. But I sure do think that cops that any cop that writes you a ticket is doing a bad deed.
Yeah.
Unless you're drunk, swerving down the road, fucking, whatever. But like any of those like stupid, you didn't come to a complete stop behind a stop sign. Well, there's nobody within a square fucking mile.
Yeah. And that's
like,
why a lot of people have this disdain for cops, is because
now they can't. They're promoted, and they only their career depends on how much money they're able to extort from people.
Yeah, because they're public servants at the end of the day. So
they're not. But there's no such thing.
Well, I just mean in the sense that they're trying to make money for like the government rather than like it's not like a private business. I mean, I guess it kind of is at the government. It's like a private business.
Do you think they want any police department wants no speeding in their town? Do you think they want everybody coming to complete stop sign? Because
that's actually a good point.
That's going on. It's like the more diligent they are to get you for not stopping behind that stop sign.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like it just paints the fact that money doesn't really teach people that lesson. So if that's the whole purpose, is like, here's a ticket so you don't do it again. It's like, well, that's not really how people base their decisions on it.
Bully you around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. There's a struggle of power. Like it's kind of like a constant fight between good and evil in this world.
Yeah.
And that's why I was also gonna ask you, what is your thoughts on specifically like AI art, because I am really afraid of the future, because like I think AI art is just missing that soul that we can see in art, and it's kind of distracting people and fucking with people in a way where they're not really sure what's real and what's fake anymore. Well, and I think that's dangerous.
It is dangerous, but it's also what you're trying to do with your art. I have a friend who makes really great art, and he's definitely like a way better artist than I am, and he uses AI, and he uses AI better than AI most people use it. You know what I mean? He can train it to do whatever he wants it to. That's fine,
because then it's like a tool, like he's manipulating it like an instrument almost.
And it's like, does it make it any less great of art because his hand didn't create it, but it, directed it to, sort of, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I guess I was speaking more on like the programs that just create the art without like an artist kind of manipulating it. Like it's more just like the photos of like fucking political stuff where they realize people have like extra hands and shit, and it's like clearly propaganda, or
and photo. It is hard to tell what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
But that if their intention is to fool you, then it's being used in a bad way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if an
it's
artist
evil,
is using it to just like a quick way to make money, and it's like you'll be able to tell their art will just suck. Kind of. It just feels sucky.
Exactly.
Like, I can tell if something was authentically created by somebody or not, and it's not whether it was a print or whatever. It's just like, why are you, why did you make this? Or is it to sell it to me? Is it just to get it out of your hands and get it, turn it into a buck or something? And
I found that because when I write jokes, like that's why I write down when I have ideas, because like if I think of something really funny, it's genuine, and I'll write it down. But sometimes you'll work on the joke and you'll realize you're just like trying to get to the end of the joke, and like what's the easiest way, and then it almost loses that soul. And that's why stand-up is so hard, I think, is because the only time you can really develop the act, like almost like paint your painting, is on stage in front of people. Like you can't sit in your room really and like know what the pocket's going to be like. And
like, another friend who's like, your painting, your art's really good, but like I could just do without the words.
I know, I hate when people say that.
Like, I mean, I can see it sometimes because some of the words people don't always get, or they might not go with it, but it's just like,
or it's distracting to them.
I didn't feel like erasing it, and that's what was on there. It's kind of a sketch pad, and it's like, maybe I could have got my point across without the words, and it did ruin it for you, but maybe I don't care if you need to hear it or if you think I was like insulting your intelligence by like clarifying what I meant by leaving a word there, but I just did it because I felt like saying it. It was said. Like you can't take your words back. Yeah. But I can't take that back.
And it's almost sometimes you cover it, but it's almost like you just like are mixing multiple medias, and it almost adds extra like depth to it. Yeah. Not that that's why you would do it, but
Right.
That's why, like, I think some people get it twisted where, like, their idea of art is what they see in movies in a museum, and there's not much words on it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's more classical style where they were just trying to capture, they didn't have cameras, you know? Like, they
Right.
were like, let's try and make something as realistic as possible,
Yeah.
because now we have cameras. Now we can actually break out from just keeping track of things or like
Yes.
everything like that, and now we can actually start to explore, well, like, what is everything, like, what is all this, you know?
Right.
Like, why do we feel the way we feel, like, what is this journey I'm on, you know?
And I think genuine art now is, to people, I think it's becoming more important. It's becoming more cool to like help your artist friends out and to like get them something unique. And it used to be artists don't like talking about prices and this and that, and like, oh, well, you just painted it, you can just paint another one. It's like, well, you support your mechanic, you support your house painter, you pay them to do stuff, like, why don't, as part of your entertainment, you know, or your philanthropy,
Well,
buy
and
some fucking art.
Even that, though, it's like you can pay somebody to paint your walls over and over and over the same color, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, I can put a price on that. But with this, it's like, I can't make this again.
Right.
Like, I was in this moment, I was in this, like, my life has gone
And-
on since then.
And it's like, people want something that's unique, one of a kind. You can tell this is unique. You can tell it's something that was crafted or something that was, you know what I mean? It's you're getting something that nobody else has.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And yeah.
And with like stand up too, it's like you kind of try to repaint the same painting over and over again to develop your act, and so that's almost what makes it tough for me too, is because I try to just like blah out the most authentic I can be, and then it's like to capture that and recreate it exactly is so hard that it's like you almost compromise it a little bit to make it easier to grasp what you were going for.
Well,
and
it's like curtailing your behavior, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like if you can figure out a way to uniquely not curtail your behavior and like, you know, step outside of the bounds of what everyone else is doing if you want to stand out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to do that without getting arrested. You know what I mean? I think this is a better way for me to stand out and to,
I agree.
you know, to I think I could do more good this way.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we got like a couple more minutes left. I was just gonna ask you if you wanted to let people know where they can see your art or where they can follow you or check it out or anything you're working on, stuff like that.
I'm just working on. I'm just painting a bunch of, you know, I'm doing live paintings at Esmeralda's in Chicago
On Sundays, right?
on Sunday nights. Yeah, with Amy on Lynch. She started a little thing there, and it's turned into quite a thing.
If you want to shout out like your Instagram or anything too.
Oh yeah, it's Ryan's Instagram at Ryan Scott Stewart.
Ryan.Scott.Stewart, right?
No,
I think it is.
I think it's dash.
Maybe.
But it's just Ryan Scott Stewart. You'll find it.
Yeah.
And then my website, s2art.art. I try to upload pictures faster, but
There are underscores, you're right.
yeah, I crank out a lot of art. So
Yeah, you do. You can't help it.
Chicago art. You'll be hearing and seeing a lot more of Chicago art.
Yeah.
And
Hell
all.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this.
Right
I think we should do it again sometime.
Yep.
We should talk more about like maybe trying to get an
Yeah,
art
when I
therapy
don't have
podcast
like
started.
when I don't have like a you know, this knot in my back.
Yeah, you'll be a little more loose.
Well,
Well,
it was fine. It was cool.
Yeah, thanks
I
everybody
was-
for listening.
Yeah, I
too.
was behaved.
You were. Have a nice day.
Peace.